Frankly, these reports mean dust to me. Stories? Podcasts? The whole damn media circus? Doesn't register. Doesn't graze me. Doesn't even flicker on my radar. 41 trips around the sun, and I'm supposed to sweat headlines? Give me a break. I watch dudes hack at little white balls all day. Don't care about ink spilled. Don't care who's got a burr under their saddle about me. That's LeBron dismissing the ESPN bomb dropped on the Lakers, claiming Jeanie Buss, owner, apparently held a grudge. Whispers spoke of Jeanie's wandering eye, eyeing the Clippers as a potential new home for the king, fueled by a perception of insufficient fealty. But buried deeper than even that resentment lay claims, inflammatory claims, of LeBron turning on his own coach. Jeanie's reaction? A move that left mouths agape across the forum. The report landed like a seismic event, rattling the Lakers to their core. All this unfolded just as the echoes of victory against Denver still resonated. A hard-fought triumph, marked by a second-half defensive lockdown that saw the Nuggets sputter to a mere 37 points, sealing a 115-107 Lakers win. The shimmer of a Lakers victory, a rare jewel against the West's best, was instantly tarnished. The spotlight, meant for soaring baskets and defensive grit, swiveled violently to a different, darker stage. This wasn't about hoops anymore. It was a full-blown organizational implosion, threatening to dismantle the Lakers' legacy brick by painful brick. Baxter Holmes' ESPN expose, dated January 21st, 2026, detonated like a grenade in the City of Angels. It was a deep dive, a merciless excavation into the Bus family's tangled web of power, exposing decades of internal rot lurking beneath the glittering facade of purple and gold, a dysfunction that had long been hidden from the adoring, unsuspecting masses. The ESPN expose sliced through the Lakers' glitz like a hot knife, revealing a festering wound beneath the shimmering surface. Forget courtside seats and championship banners. The story laid bare a post-Jeanie Buss landscape scarred by sibling warfare, backstabbing maneuvers, and a family-shattered trust. This wasn't tabloid fodder or clickbait speculation. It was a forensic autopsy of a dynasty's demise. A meticulously constructed narrative laid bare how one of the world's most prized sports possessions was being devoured from the inside by the very guardians of its inheritance. And presiding, however precariously, over this implosion was Jeanie Buss, the governor, inheritor, and since 2013, the embattled face of the Lakers' legacy. The Buss siblings, reeling from the seismic decision to relinquish their empire to Dodgers kingpin Mark Walter, a maneuver orchestrated, they felt, single-handedly by Jeanie, were in disbelief. The $10 billion valuation, a sum that echoed throughout the sporting world, couldn't paper over the chasms that the sale both revealed and widened within the family. Yet, this epic Bus family meltdown, though spectacular and unprecedented, was merely Act 1. The curtain was about to rise on a second drama, one that would grip hoops fans globally and consume the airwaves. The strained dance between Jeanie Buss and the modern era's Lakers deity, LeBron James. The four-time champ, four-time MVP, the league's scoring colossus, who'd arrived in LA with a pledge to resurrect a fallen dynasty. The ESPN expose whispered of silent war between Jeanie Buss and her star. LeBron's aura, his very presence as the Lakers' supposed messiah since 18, allegedly grated on the owner. It wasn't the banners, but the perceived narrative. James as the redeemer of a once great franchise. Imagine that venom, simmering just below the gloss of victory parades. The lady of the Lakers, resenting the man who broke their decade-long drought, all because she believed the team's legacy should have been enough. The audacity of improvement, if you will, became a point of contention. He, the king who resurrected the Lakers from a decade-long desert of draft busts and playoff absences, the player who delivered on his championship vow, was, according to the report, a source of increasing tension, not camaraderie. Despite the encore triumph, Buss allegedly viewed James not as a partner, but as a figure lacking responsibility, especially concerning the Russell Westbrook debacle, an acquisition that imploded, crippling the franchise for years to come. Jeanie, it seemed, nursed a quiet resentment, believing LeBron deflected accountability, especially concerning that Westbrook debacle, a trade many whispered he championed. The acquisition's unraveling only fueled the simmering friction. But the truly stinging revelation? Apparently, Jeanie felt LeBron hadn't properly appreciated the Lakers drafting his son, Bronny, with that 55th pick back in 24. They'd made history, gifting LeBron's boy an NBA shot, realizing a years-long public dream. A monumental moment, unprecedented. Yet insiders claim Buss felt the James clan's gratitude fell short. The very realization of a father's dream to share the court with his son somehow morphed into yet another battleground. The ESPN expose plunged deeper into the Lakers' abyss, alleging that Jeanie Buss, behind closed doors, entertained the unthinkable, refusing LeBron's extension, even dangling him, gasp, to the Clippers. Let the audacity of that settle. The Lakers, draped in 17 championship banners, a Mount Olympus of the sporting world, supposedly flirted with shipping their king, the LeBron, across town to the enemy? The firestorm that would have erupted apparently stayed her hand. Not loyalty, not gratitude, but sheer fear of public crucifixion. An insider whispered to ESPN that she started to turn against Lakers star player LeBron James. The sentiment dripped with irony, a jab at the very core of Laker lore, their gilded treatment of superstars. From Magic's decades-long embrace to Shaq's veneration and Kobe's immortalized statue, the Lakers were synonymous with player pampering. Yet, behind closed doors, Jeanie Buss, whispered sources claimed, chafed at LeBron James' perceived grandiosity and Clutch Sports' perceived stranglehold, the agency steering both James and Davis. The shadowy influence of Rich Paul's empire was a well-worn topic of league gossip, critics decrying its overreach. But now, this discontent had evidently festered at the apex of Laker power, a corrosive agent undermining the very foundations of the franchise. In a firestorm following the report, Jeanie Buss released a placating statement, a desperate attempt to douse the blaze she'd purportedly fanned with years of private grievances. Jeanie Buss, post-explosion of the exposé, pivoted. "It's simply not fair," she announced, seemingly channeling empathy, "that LeBron, after all he's gifted the Lakers, is dragged into my family's mess." A stark contrast, this, to the whispers painted in the ESPN piece. Either Baxter Holmes and his shadowy network concocted a grand deception, or Buss had initiated a scorched earth campaign of PR triage, mending a bond she'd supposedly frayed for years with hushed grievances and imagined betrayals. The timing, as always, proved cruelly apartment. Already, the Lakers limped through a season plagued by battered bodies and erratic performances. With the trade deadline looming a mere fortnight away, and the playoff gauntlet of the West tightening its grip, this very public airing of internal discord, embroiling their supernova, was precisely the kind of self-inflicted wound that title contenders cannot survive. What they craved was laser focus and ironclad unity. The Lakers, instead of basking in glory, were drowning in a sea of familial squabbles and whispered resentments directed at their king. Enter LeBron James, stage left, besieged by the press after a recent game. Notebooks sprouted like anxious sunflowers. Microphones formed a metallic hedge. The air crackled with anticipation of his reaction to the ESPN exposé that had detonated across the sports landscape. What unfolded was vintage LeBron, a performance of practiced nonchalance, a Teflon coating deflecting. The heat. This was a veteran who had weathered storms fierce enough to sink lesser stars. One reporter, emboldened, ventured forth. Given yesterday's report detailing friction with Jeanie Buss, how would you characterize the organization's support and appreciation toward you, especially in this later stage of your career? 10 years a Laker, huh? Look, I ain't carrying the play-by-play or a dossier on every supposed slight. I've caught glimpses, sure, but frankly that noise? It's static, pure and simple. The shrug was quintessential LeBron, a masterclass in weathering the relentless storm, a veteran unfazed by the latest tempest in a teapot. LeBron, a veteran battle-tested through DecisionGate, Cleveland departures 1.0 and 2.0, coaching carousels, roster reshuffles, the endless churn of his career had forged skin thicker than any hide. He'd weathered storms of public scorn and media whispers like a seasoned mariner. "You know me," he shrugged, addressing the reporters. "Been around the block, 8th year in this circus, 23 in the league. There'll be another headline tomorrow, guaranteed, and I'll be front and center. But I came here to restore the damn shine." That was the mission then, and it's the mission now. The follow-up inquiries about communication between him and Jeanie Buss, regarding any efforts to quell the simmering tensions since the exposé dropped, were met with a carefully calibrated response from James, a dismissal draped in just enough ambiguity to highlight the chasm between player and ownership. The silence following that remark spoke volumes, a fleeting glimpse of genuine weariness breaking through the usually impenetrable facade of the world's most scrutinized basketball icon, now entering his 8th Lakers season at 41. Yet, the LeBron-Jeanie dynamic was merely a subplot in ESPN's broader, more damning indictment of the Lakers' internal machinations. The autopsy of the Lakers' legacy, performed by ESPN, laid bare a grim diagnosis. Familial combat had metastasized within the Buss dynasty. Post-Jeanie Buss, the Lakers weren't just rebuilding on the court. They were at war off it. Sibling rivalries festered into full-blown skirmishes, secret plots thickened, and distrust became the family's new currency. The chaos was so profound, it made other boardroom blood feuds look like squabbles over dessert. The moment Dr. Buss's spirit ascended in 2013, his 66% controlling stake in the Lakers, entrusted to his 6 heirs, became a prize worth fighting to the death for. The Buss siblings, Jeanie, Jim, Johnny, Janie, Joey, and Jesse, each held a vote, a seemingly democratic setup intended to solidify the family's grip on the Lakers. Jerry, in his wisdom, had envisioned a unified front, a bulwark against external pressures. He'd laugh, picturing a future where selling the team only led them right back to purchasing it again. Joey and Jesse, the younger sons, were particularly favored, groomed by their father as heirs apparent, destined to shepherd the Lakers dynasty. Yet, the best-laid plans, the structure designed for unity, festered into a breeding ground for internal strife. Jeanie Buss's grand design didn't survive his departure. It crumbled into a battlefield of grudges and power plays, the detritus of which now stains the front pages. The implosion was immediate, seismic. Barely a week after Jerry's passing, factions within the Buss clan, Johnny and Jim among them, allegedly floated the idea of a sale, a proposition met with fierce resistance from other family members. The patriarch, the unquestioned authority, had been the mortar holding the family dynasty together. Now, his absence revealed decades of simmering resentments, grievances whispered across Thanksgiving tables and concealed behind a champagne spray of championship victories. 2017, the year the Buss dynasty started to truly crumble. Jeanie Buss, tightening her grip on the throne, wielded the axe. Gone went her brother's weight room. Jettisoned were Johnny, VP of everything hoops related, and a whole host of Buss-adjacent executives. This wasn't a boardroom shuffle. It was a royal flush of family, sparking lawsuits and whispers of Jeannie's calculated power grab. To some, she was a ruthless sovereign, consolidating power with an iron fist. To others, a necessary evil, the only one brave enough to wield the broom after years of on-court stumbles. Somewhere amidst the smoke and mirrors, the real story flickered. The ESPN expose unearthed a bombshell, a phone call, a familial dagger twisted deep. Jeanie Buss, it was said, unleashed a fury on her brother Joey, a wound that cut to the core. "You should have never been born," she allegedly spat, invoking a pact between her parents, Jeanie Buss and Joanne, a promise of exclusivity, children only within their union. This venom, unbelievably, bubbled up during the supposed calm before the storm of Anthony Davis's arrival. The very move destined to hoist another banner in the rafters, a stark juxtaposition of triumph and tragedy within the Buss dynasty. The Lakers' story, though etched in championship gold, was shadowed by brutal family drama. Even titles couldn't mask the internecine warfare that ultimately led to the unthinkable, the Buss family selling their kingdom. Internal squabbles festered, and the resulting dysfunction pushed them to cash out, handing the reins to Dodgers owner Mark Walter for a cool $10 billion. The siblings, unified only in profit, voted to approve, each walking away with a staggering $500 million after taxes, though clinging to a mere 15 to 17% sliver. The sum was obscene, but it signified the bitter end of an era. 4 decades of exclusive Buss family control, gone. In the wake of the sale, those loyal to Jeanie, like Kurt and Linda Rambis, were rewarded handsomely, Kurt receiving $8 million and Linda collecting a staggering $24 million. The figures danced on paper, a tribute to Bryant, but the sale's unveiling seeded a poisonous doubt. Were family coffers truly safe, their legacy insulated? The ink barely dry on the contract, and the axe fell. Joey and Jesse, exiled from their Laker roles. Jesse, once a keen scouting eye, now adrift. Jerry's grand design, the Buss dynasty stretching into eternity, shattered like glass. Joey and Jesse, his chosen heirs, discarded. The family business, a generational promise, lay in ruins. The future, a blank page. Beyond the Buss family squabbles, a miasma of mismanagement clung to the Lakers throughout the LeBron era. The franchise faced withering critiques, not merely the impotent rage of Twitter ranters, but genuine anxieties regarding fundamental operational competence, anxieties that reached the very apex of this legendary basketball institution. A playoff drought, the longest in franchise history, became the team's unwelcome signature. This wasn't Showtime. This wasn't the Mamba mentality. This was a prolonged absence from the championship conversation, a stark departure from the Lakers dynasty. The Lakers, adrift after Jeanie Buss's passing, pinballed between callow prospects, praying Ingram, Russell, or Ball would miraculously morph into the franchise messiah. The ESPN expose illuminated Jeanie Buss's reaction to critiques during this barren spell. Accusations of frugality? She internalized them as a personal affront, questioning her reliance on Linda and Kurt Rambis, an implicit dismissal of her competence. And when Pelinka absorbed flack for the team's cobbled-together rosters, she, in turn, felt the sting for her loyalty. The Lakers, under Jeannie's watch, adopted deflection as their mantra. Any whisper of doubt was met with accusations of malice, bias, and outright falsehood. Instead of tackling legitimate concerns, they erected a wall of denial. Witness, for example, the Alex Caruso debacle. A cornerstone player, inexplicably sacrificed at the altar of the bottom line. No basketball rationale, only bean counting. And Caruso? He's now draped in the championship colors of OKC, a stinging reminder of what LA carelessly tossed away. Caruso, a defensive hawk who'd have locked down wings league-wide, was let go for pennies, a decision that now screams Pennywise, championship foolish. The contract they shied from now looks like grand larceny, a bargain bin find they foolishly passed up. It wasn't a salary cap squeeze. It was a cold calculation, choosing cost-cutting over contention. And then came Westbrook, an acquisition that can only be described as the ultimate roster miscalculation of the LeBron era. The Westbrook wager? A catastrophic bust. But a twisted silver lining emerged. Russ's pre-existing contract, though a burden on the court, shielded the Lakers from the hard cap. This, in theory, allowed them to retain both Taylor and Horton Tucker alongside the beloved Caruso. Ultimately, the decision hinged on cold, hard cash, a fateful choice motivated by finances. The Lakers, flush with options, remained stubbornly inert. Meanwhile, whispers painted a portrait of Jeanie, loyalty curdling to ice. Jerry West, the very embodiment of the Lakers brand, his silhouette, the league's enduring emblem, found himself exiled, a casualty of the internal churn from the house he helped raise into a kingdom. The Lakers, however, slammed the door on Jerry West, a move that reeked of arrogance and short-sightedness, discarding a basketball savant as if his wisdom was excess baggage. Contrast this callousness with Mark Walters' blueprint for success, a philosophy etched into the Dodgers' very foundation. Walters' approach is simple: value expertise, embrace brilliance. If a mind promises insight, he doesn't hesitate. He finds a place, finds a purpose. The Lakers, in their folly, essentially said, "Brilliant basketball mind? Thanks, but no thanks." Contrast this with the Dodgers, a paragon of structured competence, hiring the best minds irrespective of ingrained hierarchies. The real head-scratcher is Jeanie's alleged LeBron antipathy, considering his savior status. But viewed through the lens of the Lakers' internal shambles, it makes a twisted kind of sense. LeBron's arrival was billed as salvation. Remember, before him, the Lakers weren't some unstoppable force. They had been mired in mediocrity, not contending and building, and then not losing seasons when you are in contention. They lacked direction and vision, and no one considered them a threat. The narrative insisted the Lakers knew the blueprint, a perception starkly divorced from reality. Comparing this to the Shaq epic throws the differences into sharp relief, illuminating why LeBron arrived draped in savior robes. Post-Magic, even in their championship drought, the Lakers at least buzzed, playoff appearances, rumblings of contention, something. Shaq landed amongst that buzz, joining a playoff-caliber squad. LeBron, however, inherited a lottery ticket. The Lakers he walked into weren't just rebuilding. They were a different beast entirely, a landscape unrecognizable from even those relatively lean years. When LeBron landed in LA, the Lakers were a husk, a collection of fledgling talent adrift in a sea of losses. The playoff drought stretched on, and the roster lacked the heft to contend. It wasn't a plug-and-play situation where he could instantly ignite a championship run. The bones of a contender simply weren't there. James had to construct, to build brick by brick with the franchise, not just slide into an existing powerhouse. And Jeanie, well, she bristled at the narrative. The savior label chafed. She didn't savor the idea that James chose the Lakers. She seemed to think the praise should have flowed toward the team's leadership for landing the king, not the other way around. Even with LeBron's promised renaissance, a championship banner now gleaming overhead, whispers suggest Jeanie Buss's unease lingered. The 2020 title, a paradigm of contemporary NBA glory, validating a blueprint built on symbiotic pieces over mere superstar amassment, failed to quell the simmering dispute. Vogel's defensively stout, switch-happy squad, a hand-in-glove fit, marched inexorably to the crown. Yet, the question of who truly authored this triumph festered, casting a shadow over the Lakers' hard-won victory. That Lakers squad, they just meshed right out the gate. It was like a symphony, every instrument playing its part perfectly. They had lightning in a bottle. But then, a left turn into Crazy Town. They chucked the blueprint, the very one that had given them a title, for some harebrained scheme. Look, they practically invented the modern NBA roster, showing everyone the value of specific skill sets, the kind of guys who win ball games. And then, poof, gone. For Russell Westbrook. That single trade detonated the delicate ecosystem that had just hoisted a championship trophy. In the wake of the expose, LeBron, cornered at the podium, danced around roster questions with a veteran's grace. Disrespectful, he murmured, a dissecting team needs so publicly, especially with the trade deadline looming. Don't want to play fantasy GM tonight. This professional facade, however, cracked against the backdrop of alleged bus, family squabbles, and Jeanie's reported LeBron grumbling. Where ownership allegedly schemed trades and whispered grievances, the king, even amidst the swirling storm, refused to publicly implicate anyone. Loyalty, it seemed, only flowed one way in the embattled Lakers kingdom. Amidst the swirling storm of exposed Lakers innards, a glimmer of damage control. LeBron James and Rich Paul, his consigliere, were reportedly set for a summit with Jeanie Buss. This awkward powwow, unfolding mid-season with the trade deadline looming like a guillotine and playoff hopes teetering, couldn't have been timed worse. Though no longer the majority shareholder after cashing out to the Dodgers' Walter, Jeanie, by the terms of the deal, retained her title as team governor for 5 more years, a ghostly echo of the Buss dynasty. But with this new ownership group peering into the Buss family's turbulent past, whispers now suggest their previous carte blanche might be revoked. Think succession in purple and gold, a fitting analogy. A dynasty's founder passes, and his heirs descend into a viper pit, claws out, vying for the throne. Alliances forged and broken. The drama unfolds in real time. The bile rose, words spat like venom, permanently poisoning family ties. Basketball, the very soul of the Lakers, faded behind the boardroom brawls. For the faithful in purple and gold, a desperate plea. Could the Lakers rediscover their legendary focus, or would the rot in the executive suite infect the hardwood? As for LeBron, now a legend etched in time at 41, would his twilight years be spent dodging ownership shrapnel instead of adding to his crown? For a franchise synonymous with greatness, the present threatened to tarnish a golden legacy. From the glitz of Magic's Showtime Lakers, through the Shaq and Kobe era's three-peat dominance, to Bryant and Gasol's resurgence, and even the fleeting solace of LeBron and AD's 2020 title during unprecedented times, the Lakers brand has been a part of the sport's history. Yet, sustained triumph demands a cohesive vision, a unified front from ownership down to the training staff, a harmony sorely lacking in the 2026 season. The Lakers, as it stands, are a broken play. LeBron arrived, pledging a return to glory, and to his credit, he delivered a banner. Promise kept, but the looming question is this: can the Lakers front office now hold their end? Or will the internecine Buss family squabbles be the epitaph to LeBron's LA chapter? The reason a legend was denied a truly golden legacy? That's all for now. The saga continues. Catch related stories right there.